Here we are, days away from Super Bowl 57. Welcome aboard. I mean, I agree. Who said this? The longest 2 weeks of the NFL season. Has it not been? I mean, Steve, I'm with you. This has just been dragging out here. It's getting a little bit quicker now, but the storylines are going to be sensational. I can't wait to see what happens on Sunday. By the way, let's get it out of the way here. Herm Edwards will be with us at the bottom of the hour. Now, he's got a cool perspective. He is a former Kansas City Chief head coach, and he's a former Eagle legend. Where do his loyalties lie? Who's he pulling for this Sunday? Can't wait, man. And also, Philly 500. Fans' perspective. That'll be in hour number 2 at 4:30. Till then, we take your thoughts. And look, the one thing that we do here on our program, we look at both sides of the aisle here, and we kind of just throw, gratuitous stats at you. Is it going to be a factor? But by the way, I'm going to say this to you. How much do you think Super Bowl experience plays a factor in a game like this on Sunday? Brady and the Patriots and Belichick had all that experience in 2017. Did it matter? I don't think it did. How about when the Cowboys beat the Bills in the Super Bowl? Didn't the Bills have all the Super Bowl experience? Did it matter? No. I think that's overrated. I think the best team wins. Best team wins, man. Andy Reid's 1-4 in Super Bowls. So should we look at that and go like this? Well, Reid hasn't been very, very good in the Super Bowls. Does that play any factor in Sunday? I don't know. I think it doesn't matter. I think that's a media conversation. Well, hey, Mahomes and the Chiefs have all the Super Bowl experience. I don't think it matters. You really think that, Nick Foles had a ton of playoff experience when he outplayed Brady or when Doug outcoached Belichick? Did it have any bearing in that game whatsoever that the Eagles had not been to the Super Bowl and the Patriots had been to a ton of them? I don't think it had any impact at all, right? I don't think it had any impact. So for me, I look at it and I go like this. I think that's just like a made-up media conversation. I really don't think it matters. Okay? I don't think it has any bearing whatsoever. Now, I want to throw some stats at you before we get into the topics here. The Eagles are ranked, Tone, correct me if I'm wrong here. The Eagles ranked first in pass defense this year, right? They ranked first in pass defense. During the regular season, the Eagles played against just 5 teams ranked in the top half of the league offensively. Okay? That's it. Only 5 teams. And the other teams that were ranked in the top 5, they scored 30 points on them. They scored 30 points on them. So are those numbers true? Because they really didn't play against a high-powered offense this year. So when you say you're the top pass defense, I mean, I think this is sometimes why people look at the Eagles and look at the Eagle defense and go, are they really who they are? Look at the playoff quarterbacks. Okay? Daniel Jones and Christian McCaffrey. Those were the quarterbacks that were in the postseason. You're not going to get a true test of who that offense was or who they are with those quarterbacks. You're just not. Or the David Mills. And again, I'm not indicting them. I'm just pointing out. Okay? I'm just pointing out. Again, I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying when you dive more into the stats, and that's what we do with 2 weeks. You dive more into the stats, there were really 5 teams that they played against that were in the top echelon of the league, and those teams scored 30 points on the defense. So are they who they are? Look, the pass rushing, you can't get away from that number. 80 sacks is spectacular. It's absolutely spectacular. Okay? So again, I'm looking at the defense going, is that defense really going to be able to contain Patrick Mahomes? By the way, we've got some things, and we're going to get to them here in a second, when it comes to what I think has to happen in this football game. Before we do that, obviously the conversation after the season and after the Super Bowl is going to come down to Jalen Hurts and his contract negotiations. And I keep hearing people say, well, Jalen's going to give the Eagles a discount. My friends, he's already given you a discount. He's played MVP football, and he's made no money. So you want him to take an additional discount? He makes 1.3. He's the 710th highest paid player in the league. I mean, there's only 1,700 guys in the league. What more of a discount do you want him to take? I don't think he's going to take any discount. Why should he? He gave the Eagles a discount for the last couple of years here. That's right, Neil, I agree. This is your discount year. This is your discount. He's making $1.3 million. That's a discount. You want him to do it again? Man, for even a critic like me on him, I don't want him to do it. I don't want him to take one dime less. This is a discount year. Yeah, but tone goes like this. Well, next year will be a discount year too. Not if they give him the extension, because then the bonus kicks in. Okay? Your bonus will kick in. Because if they cut the deal this year in the offseason here, signing bonus, you got to pay the signing bonus out. So if they sign Jalen to a 3-year contract with $50 million guaranteed or $70 million guaranteed, they got to pay him that money in the offseason here. Okay? You're going to send Jalen Hurts into the 2023 regular season making $1.4 million bucks? Man, that's pretty cheesy if you do that, especially if they end up winning the game on Sunday. So to me, and I'm going to make a point to you on something. If I'm the Eagles, do you guys agree with this? If you're the Eagles, don't you get this deal done before Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow? I'd want to get this deal done first. I don't want those guys setting the market, because then it's going to cost you $50 million. I'd pay him right away. I'd tell Jalen Hurts, here's $45 million. Let's move forward. Let's do a 3-year contract, and then we'll renegotiate it as we go on. By the way, you know what you could always do to that extension? You can always add another year. You know where else you're going to get a discount? Don't let this thing get closer to March 12th. And don't let Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow get their deals done before. Because then Clutch Sports is going to go, well, look what he got. They're already going to go, look what Kyler Murray got. So I would say this if I was Howie. Hey, I know that there's so many issues in free agency that you've got to get to, but I would say this, let's get this deal done immediately. Because if the Eagles draw this thing out and let this thing play out, Joe Burrow gets $50 million. Say Lamar gets $51 million. Well, why wouldn't Jalen Hurts demand $50 million? I would get the deal done immediately. Super Bowl lands, get the parade, get the guys in the room, get Clutch Sports up and say, let's go. Let's get this thing done as quick as possible. Dude, let Jalen set the market, not Burrow. Burrow's going to command $55 million a year. Don't let those guys set the market for 2023, because you're going to be in a position where you're going to have to match that. Because look, watch this. You could always turn around and go like this. They just paid Lamar Jackson in Baltimore $51 million. Why doesn't my guy get it? Right? If I'm Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie, you need to be the first people up to the plate when it comes to negotiations. Worrying about James Bradbury and worrying about Kaiser White and TJ Edwards and Isaac Seumalo and Miles Sanders is secondary. That's right, Neil. The longer you wait, the more money it's going to cost you. Look at what happened in Dallas with Dak Prescott. Be the first. You might get a $5 million discount because Burrow and the rest of them guys may get $50, $55 million. Shit, you might get a $10 million discount when it comes to market value. Be the first guys up. And by the way, Clutch is going to want to drag this out a little bit to see what Lamar gets. You know for a fact that both parties, and here's the advantage that they have over Lamar. Lamar's mom's his agent. Dude, you need to be the first people to the plate. In my opinion, when it comes to negotiating with Jalen, don't wait till March 12th or past, because then it's going to cost you more dough. It's going to cost you more dough here. All right. I wrote down 6 things. And the biggest question marks heading into Super Bowl 57. And here they are. This is both sides. And you tell me if you agree, okay? Here's number 1. Can the Chiefs' O-line slow down the Eagle pass rush? This is going to be essential. We were just talking, Tone and I, before the show started here. This is going to be a trench war game. This is going to be won in the trenches. You know what? I know it sounds like a cliche, but this is reality for every football game, and especially every good football game. Who's got the better fronts? Okay? Can the Chiefs O-line? You don't have to stop them, but you have to slow them down. How do you slow them down? Screen game, middle screens, delayed screens. They've got a great screen game, and they've got athletic backs that can catch the ball. The Eagles have no screen game. The Chiefs have a screen game, and they've got talented kids that are essential in that screen game. If I were Jonathan Gannon, because he plays that flex / soft zone defense, that's something that I'd be concerned about, because what happens in the screen game? You got to play tighter to the ball. The screen game will bring the linebackers closer to the line of scrimmage too, because you'll want to get a head start on the screen game. Middle screens, flat screens, delayed screens, as I said. But that also then puts you one-on-one with Kelsey. So keep an eye on that. The Chiefs O-line, they have to slow down that pass rush. Okay? They have to slow down that pass rush. Number 2, can Chris Jones disrupt the Eagle offense? Bosa didn't. Micah Parsons didn't. I'll tell you something that I went back and looked pretty much at almost all the games against top-flight defensive linemen. I would say the Eagles handled every single top-flight defensive football player and pass rusher the entire season. If you want to give kudos to the offense, you know, it's one thing to handle Justin Jefferson. It's another thing to consistently shut down Micah Parsons, Nick Bosa, and now you're getting Chris Jones. Look at what they did to the defensive tackle with the Giants, Dexter Lawrence. I didn't even hear him. I never heard his name. Actually, I never heard his name. I know he was hurt for one of the games, but I didn't hear his name ever in an Eagle game. Simmons with the Titans. I thought they shut him down there too, Jeffrey Simmons. They did such a great job. That's right, Dank. All those names, Dank, they handled every one of them. Why would I not think that they're not going to be able to handle Chris Jones? Chris Jones has had a great year. 15 and a half sacks, no question about it. Top defensive interior lineman in the league. Great. Okay. Well, they handled Bosa well. They handled Simmons well. I mean, Chris Jones has to be a disruptor for them to have a chance to win this game. Number 3, and I know some of you don't agree here, and Seth Joyner doesn't agree. Can Hurts raise the level of play? He's not played well. He's not played well in the postseason. Okay, he's been below average. Can he raise his game in the Super Bowl? Again, I think it's a product of him being hurt. It's not his ability. I think it's a product of him being hurt. Okay, I do. But he hasn't really played at a high level. And see what Rocksteady says? That's such a great advantage when your quarterback doesn't play well and you can still put 31 points on someone. Very few teams in the NFL can rely on that. Your like if Mahomes doesn't play well against the Eagles can put 50 points on him. If Jalen Hurts doesn't play well, it's going to be a close game. That's the difference in teams and in the rosters right now, in my opinion. He doesn't have to play well, but if he raises his level, it raises the level of the Eagles like they were in September and October. Be very tough to beat Philly if Jalen Hurts raises his level of play. And he looks like he did in September and October. If he looks like that Jalen Hurts, man, could be a long day for the Chiefs. Can Mahomes continue elite play on an injured ankle? That's going to be another one. So far, here's your 4. I got a couple more here. Can the Chiefs' O-line slow down the Eagle pass rush? Can Chris Jones disrupt the Eagle offensive line? Can Hurts raise his level of play? Can Mahomes continue elite play on an injured ankle? You know, the Chief offense, to me, how about this? Let's do this. Let's do this here. And I know the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl, but why do I look at Cincinnati and I look at Buffalo, and I thought that would have been a tougher matchup for Philly. And I look at the Chiefs, and they're the lesser of those 3 teams. Why do I look at Kansas City and go, I think they're the lesser of those teams? And yet here they are. It's the play of the quarterback, and he's injured. You know, today he reported that he's feeling pretty good and that he's going to he's in a really good place right now. Okay? I'm with you, William. I think the Chiefs wide receivers are just dudes. Has it made it a more effective offense, a more efficient offense? I guess so. There's a ton of guys with 500 yards receiving on that team. He has totally spread it around. But there's not a game breaker on that team. I wouldn't consider the tight end a game breaker. You know, there's nobody. See, here's the one thing, too, if you're Jonathan Gannon, why I would play tighter in defense here. Dude, you're worried about Tyreek Hill beating you deep. Is there anybody on that Kansas City team that you're concerned about that will beat you deep? Kansas City hasn't beaten anybody deep all year. Why would you go into this game concerned about that when Gannon goes into every game and he's concerned about that? Here, there's no Justin Jefferson. There's no Tyreek Hill. There's nothing on. Dude, if somebody beats a Jonathan Gannon defensive play call in this game, it's because it's a broken defensive coverage. That's the only way Kansas City gets behind these guys. The Eagles have more talent, in my opinion, to cover the passing game than what Kansas City has to throw at them. I don't see the advantage that Kansas City has in their wideouts outside of Kelsey with the 110 catches. They don't have anybody on that team that threatens them deep. Press them more. Get up in their face. Get him off rhythm. He's injured. If you bump him and you jam him at the line of scrimmage, that may get your guys home too. If I'm Jonathan Gannon, I want to see how healthy he is right away. Don't you? If he's not healthy, there's no way they can win. Because nobody's threatening them deep. He's got to move around in the pocket to get away from the pass rush. I want to threaten them, test them. Okay? Jesse goes, Seals, do you believe Mahomes is close to 100%? No. I think he's probably around 90. I think he's around 90%. Probably 90%, somewhere in there. By the way, just so you know, Jess, I think Jalen Hurts is around 70%. 75%. I think he's worse off than Mahomes. Both quarterbacks coming in. Dude, it wouldn't shock me if you see the backups take a couple snaps in this game for either team. Both guys are injured going in, okay? Both guys are injured. I want to see if Mahomes could play elite on his injured wheel. Here's another one. And I wrote these down this morning because I went back and looked at all the playoff games. Is this a fair statement about the Eagles going into this game for Sunday? Will A.J. Brown have a breakout playoff game? Has he had over 40 yards in any game? Has he been a factor at all in the postseason? No. He's not been a factor. This guy's a 1,500-yard receiver. Will he have a breakout game? He has not been a factor at all. Okay? He's not been a factor. So, I mean, Josh says that Jalen's been overthrowing him. Okay? Okay? And 91. I'm not saying that Jalen's going to be out of the game. Wouldn't shock me if the Eagles put a lot of pressure on Mahomes and he gets knocked out for a couple plays, especially if he's not healthy. Doesn't always mean I'm talking about Jalen, 91. Could mean Mahomes. Henny has played over the last couple weeks for the Chiefs, just keeping score here. How do you guys know I'm talking about Jalen Hurts missing time in the game? You're assuming that. Okay? You're assuming that. 91, right? Can you imagine having both backups, man? Holy cow. I do not want to see that. Here's the other one. As I just said about the Chiefs, who's going to step up offensively for Kansas City? Okay, who's going to step up? Kansas City has to get a big-time performance. And to me, if Juju Smith-Schuster has a big game or one of those running backs, do you guys remember, what was the name of that kid? Some of you might be too young. You guys remember that guy, Tim Smith, that had over 200 yards rushing? I think it was the Doug Williams Super Bowl in San Diego when they beat Denver, and he had 200 yards rushing. Guy never had another game in his life ever like that, ever in his life. Okay? He never had a game like that ever again. You guys remember that running back? Tim Smith with the Washington Redskins back in the day? Had like 200 yards. I mean, nobody saw him. Nobody knew who he was, but he had this. I think his name was Tim Smith, if I'm not mistaken. It was like Tim Smith or something. He had this monster game. And everyone was like, who's that? I personally think, okay, Kansas City has to have a guy like that to beat the Eagles. I think they've got to have a guy like that to be able to beat the Eagles defense. Because if they don't, can Kelsey carry that team? Well, then again, it's Kelsey and the O-line. Okay? So here are my takeaways for this game. I think these are the questions. Can the Chiefs O-line slow down the Eagle pass rush? Let me answer that. Can the Chiefs O-line slow down the Eagle pass rush? I don't think so. I'm going to say no to that. Can Chris Jones disrupt the Eagle offense? I'm going to say no to that. You know why? The Eagle offensive line has handled every single top-flight defensive player that they've played. You know who hey, guys, would you agree with this? The guy who probably had the most success against the Eagle O-line was a rookie, Aiden Hutchinson, in week 1. Didn't he have a couple sacks? I thought he had a couple sacks in that game. I mean, the only guy that I can think of that put any kind of pressure on the quarterback was Aiden Hutchinson. Other than that, I think they even handled Lawrence. They handled Parsons. Okay? No sacks, but big plays, Josh. Okay, I thought he had a couple sacks in the game. Okay? But Hutchinson, I thought, played well in that game against the Eagles. The rest of them, they've handled them. So can Chris Jones disrupt the Eagle offensive line? I'm going to say no. Don't forget, Herm Edwards is going to join us in a couple minutes, the former Eagle legend and Kansas City Chief head football coach. Can Hurts raise his level of play? I think he will. The big question is going to be, okay, the big question, in my opinion, I think it's going to be how healthy he is and what they ask him to do. Tone says no sacks, only one assisted tackle. Hurts was killing him, breaking the pocket from the blitz. I thought he played well in the game, though. I thought he played well. Okay. Can Mahomes continue elite play in an injured ankle? I'm going to say yes, because I think he's going to be healthier. Okay. He was a disruptor, right? I mean, he was getting into backfield. But again, Tone, I'm not saying that he played exceptional. I'm saying I thought he was the only guy that flashed for me of all the defensive players that they played against this year. I think Mahomes is going to play better because he's healthier. Okay? I do. I think he's going to play at an elite level. Seals, are you predicting a Birds win? 31-17. I don't see anything else. Okay? 31-17, Philly. I've been saying it for 2 weeks. I'm not going to change. Unless something else changes as we get closer to Sunday. A.J. Brown have a breakout game? Now, here, this is going to be one that I'm not sure of. I'm going to tell you why. So if the Eagles run the ball for 250 yards against the Chiefs, and I don't think they could stop the run, okay, you know, people are going like this. Sills, didn't you see what they did against Cincinnati's offensive line? Cincinnati's offensive line? You're comparing that to the Eagle O-line? You might want to take that. You might want to take that take back. The Eagles are like the elite group. The Bengals are kind of okay. So if Kansas City did a decent job stopping the run and Joe Mixon and them guys, is that a real big feat against 3 backup guys that were playing O-line in that AFC title game? I don't think so. Really, I agree with you, Andrew. I think that's a terrible take, man. Look what they did against the Bengals. The Bengals O-line is terrible. So A.J. Brown having a breakout game? I don't know. I don't think so. because I think they're going to, personally, but you got two rookies at the corner position. Got to threaten that. I think you got to. Now, is Jalen able to get the ball to him, though? I wonder how much restriction is going to be in that play calling with Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen's going to let it all hang out. But I don't know if I want to put him in a position to throw the football if I don't have to. Like against the 49ers, they didn't have to throw the ball. They didn't. They ran the ball for 181 yards. They didn't have to. You're averaging 200 yards on the ground in your playoff games. Why would you bend away from that when that's been the dominant thing and your quarterback's been banged up? Rocksteady says no restrictions. Well, Jalen Hurts told Peter King that when he threw that ball in the Giant game, his arm almost fell off. I mean, those are from his words, not from mine. This is not a prediction. I'm not fortune telling this. Jalen said his arm almost fell off because the pain was so extreme. He told Peter King that, Monday Morning Quarterback. And you guys are sitting there telling me no restrictions? I don't know. I don't know. And the Pacheco kid you guys keep bringing up. Okay. I think he's good. And the kid they just activated, I think he's pretty good too. They're really good in the pass game. Okay? They're really good in the pass game. Look, Mahomes keeps this game close. He keeps this game close. No question about it. And so does Andy.